When I tell y'all, I will never take a girls trip with anybody who does not have funds.
We were scammed.
I'm like, how you letting my young ass basically give you a free trip for my birthday?
When it was time to put down the deposit, everybody around here looking like this. Crickets.
I wake up the next morning and all those open wounds on this side of my body, infected.
You guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another episode of The World is Ghetto. Yes, yeah, today I'm bringing you guys vacation trips from hell. In this vacation trips, I know we've done a vacation trips before, but this one is gonna be a combination of group vacations, solo vacations, and as well as couple vacations. So I thought it would be great to throw in, you know, a combo. Okay, it's gonna be like a little gumbo. So without further ado, I want to tell y'all, make sure you subscribe to the channel. A lot of y'all who are watching my videos are not subscribed, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video, share it up, leave a comment down in the comment section, and let's get right into it.
We were scammed by our Airbnb booking.
Yes,
and
a little bit by Airbnb.
Yeah, and Airbnb didn't help us at all.
No. So this is the really interesting story about all of that. I will start by saying that right before recording this video, Airbnb actually has decided to kind of change their mind on some of this and help, which is an interesting story in and of itself. But let's just kind of start with what happened here. We booked a trip to Hawaii for our family. So we had 9 people heading out to Hawaii. I was there for work, and we were going to make a big family trip out of it. So we booked an Airbnb that everybody could stay in. So while we were in the air, we got a text message from the Airbnb host that said, hey, I want to talk to you. Something is wrong with the list. I can actually pull up the exact words, but it's about that. And the second I got it, I told you, I know exactly what this is.
Yes, you know when you're just, your gut tells you, you just know, you're like, oh no.
Oh, great.
Something's happening.
Texting me, by the way, they weren't talking to me in the app. Number one, I was like, immediately I knew what was going on. We were not going to be in this property that we booked. So I finally got this person to talk to me. He wanted to talk over the phone. And he said the unit we booked had a plumbing issue. And there was a pipe that burst. And they just found out about this pipe that burst. And they were having a plumber come out to take a look at it. We couldn't get into the unit today, but we're in luck because they have another place that we can stay. Immediately, we knew that there was no pipe that burst, that this was all fake. We were both pretty sure what they did was, because we've actually had this happen kind of once before, where a host just accidentally double booked on 2 websites. Yeah. So they were on, you know, VRBO and Airbnb, and they just booked them both, right?
And I think with that situation, it was totally an accident. It felt like an accident.
People, yeah. There were other people there. They just accidentally double booked their listing.
And that person was super nice, but yeah, they just accidentally did it. But that's what we thought happened.
Yeah, I thought that's probably what's going on. We're also in this horrible position because we have 9 people in Hawaii right now. We just landed. So we booked this months ago, and now we just land. We have nowhere to go. So they say, will you come take a look at the new place? We literally have nowhere to be. Yeah, we'll come take a look at the new place. We have nowhere else to go. We show up to this new spot. It's weird right off the bat. It is a place that has the right amount of beds for the people that we have.
Yeah, so it's not set up as an Airbnb at all. It's clearly, very obviously, they brought in things like that day.
There are boxes out by the trash of like coffee makers, curtain hangers, and stuff like that. They literally set up this Airbnb hours before we got there.
Cheapest things possible. Everything is labeled from Ross. It's on clearance. I bet things were from the dollar store. I think things were probably from a garage sale. Like literally, it's the weirdest stuff. 2 rolls of toilet paper for 9 people for 10 days. There was 1 roll of paper towels. There was nothing to like cook with. It was like we were camping. We had to buy just those like aluminum foil. What are they called? They're like temporary,
like little pans that you would like cook with and stuff like that.
Basically, you would store food in, and we were cooking in that. We were putting bacon in that and putting it in the oven. Everything was broken, literally. The refrigerator, ice maker, and water dispenser was broken. The faucet didn't turn off. There
were locks on doors to the outside of the house that would not lock. They were broken.
My slider in like our room didn't latch or close. It just was completely unlocked and open. It was like not safe.
The whole thing is very, very weird. The pool looked okay on the first few days. Looked okay.
It didn't, but it got worse. It got progressively worse.
A couple days in, turned fully green.
Yeah.
So that's a whole, we'll get to that. So we get there. There's some lady there, and feels very uncomfortable that she's there. She does not like that she's there showing me around the house for sure. And then she says, oh, what do you think? And I say, well, we're going to wait to find out about this plumbing issue. We really want to go into the other house. And the whole time she keeps saying, look, if you don't like it, you could also cancel. She's kind of like throwing this out there. Like, you could also cancel. Like, oh yeah, it's going to be so easy to get 9 people into another Airbnb day of. Thank you so much for the suggestion to possibly cancel.
Just felt weird.
Very
it
weird.
felt off. I remember right after we talked to her, I walked away thinking like, I didn't like that interaction. That was very bizarre. There was nothing about it that was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, about this other property. Like there was nothing in it. It was just kind of like, do you like it? Is it okay? If not, just cancel it.
You could just cancel it. And I remember saying, that's a weird way to look at this, because it's not like I'm canceling the reservation I set up. You are forcing me to be in this house. This really weird position where you don't want to make your entire vacation about trying to unravel this scam and fix this whole thing and move. Now you got to move the whole family. It's already late in the day, so we're staying there night 1.
By the way, right away when we got this text message, I had told you, I was like, you should drive by the other property. I was like, take your dad and go drive by the other property. And you were like, no, they said they're going to try and work on this plumbing issue and that maybe they'll get us back into the house.
Yeah, which of course we didn't believe them for a second.
I get you wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Yeah. So then...
And you kind of want to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
You do.
So we're in the house night 1. We're thinking at some point we're going to go back to this other house. Maybe, right?
Maybe.
Yeah. But that's what they're telling us.
Sure.
So you had asked for a discount because of this.
At some point I'm like, look, I still want to go in the other house. I'm talking to the host. He keeps trying to talk to me on text. I keep bringing it back to the app because I think Airbnb is going to help me. And oh boy, Airbnb... I'm surprised.
That's the most shocking part.
Honestly, I'm surprised with all of this. Like, I would rate the scammer higher than Airbnb.
And just wait, you haven't even heard the scammiest part yet.
That's true.
You don't even know the twist of this.
I ask for a discount. I say, look, this isn't the place we booked. I don't want to deal with this on my vacation anymore. Like, give me 30% off whatever I booked for or something. We'll call it even and I'll move on. The guy starts arguing with me about the price. And that just makes me really annoyed because I know I'm being scammed and I just want this to end. So I'm like still talking to him. I'm like, okay, whatever. Once he starts arguing with me about the price, I decide to drive by the other property because I know what I'm going to find. I'm 100% sure I drive by this other property. I'm going to see other people in the property because they have rented it to someone else, right?
Yes. So that's exactly what we thought.
That's exactly what we thought. I drive by the other property.
But it's not what happens.
I drive by the other property and sure enough, there's a car in the driveway. There are other people in the unit. So what I planned on doing was just taking a picture of the car and like sending it to the host and go, what do we do now? Now that I know that this property has someone else in it. This is where it gets kind of wild. This is where it gets sort of crazy. I take a picture of the car and then the front door of the house opens and it's a lady and she goes, hey, are you taking a picture of my car? And immediately I go, yes, I did do that. I'm so sorry. Hi, my name's Jake. I booked this place through Airbnb. I'm guessing you also booked this place through Airbnb and they double booked us. I was only taking a picture so I could send it to the owner. I will delete it. I show her, I was like, I will delete it. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I go, have you rented this place? And she says, no. And I said, do you own this house? And she says, yes, this is my house. So I go, well, let me show you. Your house is listed on Airbnb as a place to rent. This is your house right here. Here are like the pictures. And she goes, this is my house. You're at the right address. That is the exterior of my house. Every single other photo is fake. This is not my house at all. This is completely made up. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, this is the level I did not expect. I thought we were being sort of like this like person will like double book properties and move people around, whatever, oh, we'll give them a little discount. No. The original listing was fully fake. And they plan on moving us the entire time. There is no property that we booked.
Yeah. So, and once we find this out, I'm like, oh my gosh, we are absolutely squatting in this second house, by the way, because it feels like it. It feels like we are in a vacant home, like a nice home in a nice neighborhood, but a totally vacant house.
It's like a foreclosure that someone broke into or something.
And then they staged it with a staging company and got cheap like utensils and was like put up like curtains from Ross and said like, here you go, here's your Airbnb. Well, we have to get out of here.
Right.
I'm honestly now worried because we're all sitting in this place that I'm not even sure this new house we're in, like what's going to happen if the real owner of this house comes, like what, or if the scammer finds out that we're investigating them and they come to I don't know what they're capable of, or I don't know what's going to happen. So now we're like, we have to call Airbnb. We know this is like a total fraudulent situation.
Yes.
And I'm thinking they're going to help us, given the information that we just told you, and that we know for a fact this is not like, oh, we're just disappointed in the Airbnb. This is like, no, we are fully scammed, bait and switch. There is no other property.
There is no property. It's fully fake.
And this property is probably not theirs either. I'm like 100%
Pretty
sure
positive
it's
it
not
has
theirs.
nothing to do with them.
Yes.
And this is like, I would like you to imagine what you think Airbnb is going to do right here. And I can assure you they will disappoint you, even if you set your expectations pretty low.
Yeah, even if it's really low.
So we call Airbnb. And to be fair, the bookend of Airbnb is good. The first person we talked to at Airbnb is good. And then the last person I have ever talked to at Airbnb over here, also pretty good. Everyone in between is an absolute nightmare. So we call the first person we talk to. All I'm saying is like, look, I know this is all a scam. We found out this was a scam. We talked to the person who owns the other house. All I want is to get my family out of here and into another place. And the woman on the phone is like fully in agreement. She says, yes, absolutely. We will take care of you. We will find another place for you to stay. I was telling her, please don't let the host know until we're out of the property, because I don't know who these people are. I don't know what their plans are. I don't know what house we're staying in. The lady on the phone saying, if we need to contact the police, we will contact the police. This is illegal to do this. Actually, the first call with Airbnb goes shockingly well.
Yeah.
They're going to get back to us right away.
And she's going to escalate it to a supervisor, blah, 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 all these things. And then we start talking to the supervisor chain.
Yeah.
And immediately they backtrack on everything.
Yeah, the supervisor is not great. So the supervisor, the first thing they say is like, let's find a place for you to stay. So we're looking, it's day of in Hawaii for 9 people. It's kind of hard to find a place.
For like 8 days.
Yeah, for like 8 days or whatever that we're there.
Yeah. Because it's already been like probably 2 days now that we've
it's like been like 1.5 days or whatever. So it's like a long trip. It's hard to book that, which is part of what these like scammers know. They know you're not going to be able to find a new Airbnb with 0 notice for 10 days for 10 people or whatever. So they can't really find a place for us to stay. They find like a couple, and then they're like, you're gonna have to pay the difference.
Which
and I'm like,
we were even like, that's
we were like,
crazy,
maybe.
fine.
I was like, what's the difference? But then they can't find anywhere for us to stay through Airbnb. So
which honestly is really crazy, because I know they have like hotels that they have on. You can see hotel listings on Airbnb. I can't believe
there are also hotels in the island.
Yeah.
I would think that if a customer on my app got scammed and there was already X amount of dollars that I paid for this, we would just credit that towards a hotel and make something happen for them. You would think they would do a lot of things. Instead, what they did was contact the host, who was a scammer, who I specifically said many times, please don't contact them right away, because I don't know what they're going to do when they find out what's going on here. So they contact the host. The host tells them about the plumbing issue that doesn't exist in the other house, and they start to roll with that story. Airbnb is like, sounds like to me there was a plumbing issue in the other property and they put you in this house. Again, I have irrefutable proof that all of this is fake. I went by the other home.
I know. And they kept like, they were like, I can't believe they bought the scammer story.
They bought the scammer story. I actually think, I have a lot of theories on what they thought about the scammer story, but they either bought the scammer story or they kind of help some of these scams along so that they can just move along from this. They're hoping that I take a little bit of a discount, everyone shuts up, and we all move on with our lives.
I don't know if they help the scammers, but I would think they
Well, it felt like they were helping them.
It did. But I feel like what it felt like to me is that they're so legally bound.
Yes.
Like they know they're in a very bad legal situation, and so they're trying their very hardest to not make any waves so that
not say anything. They don't want to say anything about what's happening.
Yes, and that they're like going to follow this exact script over and over again so that there's no additional legal issues. But from our perspective, they just kept telling us the story of like, oh, there was a plumbing issue in the house, and the host was so accommodating.
They were accommodating. They wanted to help us find a new place.
And they found you a new place, and sounds like everything's perfect. And it's like, no, everything is broken in this home. Even the pool is not swimmable because it's green, which, by the way, I went and bought chlorine and a shock treatment that I put in myself. I went to Home Depot.
What a vacation.
Hawaii, and I'm cleaning a pool so that our daughter can swim in this pool for 8 more days that we're going to be staying, because there's nowhere Airbnb will put us. And we could book another hotel room, but they won't refund us anything. So I'm like, we've already paid for this thing. Yeah. Now we're going to book, again, 9 people for 8 days in like a hotel room. And we've now already paid for this house too. Like we're going to be paying for both things. And I also think we're like, they surely they will help us at some point when we get to the right person. right? Like
would think.
they'll help us. So we just kept staying in this awful house, and I kept fixing everything and trying to make it work, and it was absolutely awful.
A conversation I had previously with the host about the 30% off, they were like, that seems like the way to go here is to take this 30% off and just kind of move on with it. And I said, I absolutely do not agree to 30% off. That sounds insane. I cannot believe the solution is for me to hang out in this scam house. We don't know whose house it is. We don't know anything about it. To hang out in this scam house and take 30% off. I definitely want more than that. And the guy on the phone eventually said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We are going to let you finish out the reservation in the house. We're not going to tell the host because you don't want us talking to the host because this is a scam. We're not going to tell the host. Once this is done, we can talk to you about a bigger refund. Everyone can just move on. And the whole time, the thing that makes this really hard on anyone who's stuck in a scam like this is you don't want to be on the phone and on with support for Airbnb for the entirety of your vacation to remedy a problem that they should have fixed like that. So eventually, we don't have anything else we can do. We've already been fighting this for days. I agree that we will talk to them at the end of this reservation. Yeah, there's no TV.
There was no TV.
There's nothing in this house.
Nothing.
Whatever you think was in this house, take things away. I was going back and forth between where I was working and this house at times, and the Uber who was taking me there was like, hey, like, are you heading over there to pick up a car? Because I'd mentioned that I don't live there. And I was like, no, I'm just going to where I'm staying. He's like, you're staying there? And I said, yeah. And he goes, that's weird because vacation rentals aren't even offered on that part of the island. In fact, vacation rentals aren't offered in the house we were in or in the other house. So Airbnb should have never even allowed the listing in the first place.
Yeah,
you can't rent things in that part of the island. Airbnb said, we'll let that one slide. And then there was a scam and they were like, we'll let that one slide.
Well, it was super weird because every person we encountered that like lived there had the same thing. We rented baby equipment too, and they were like, do you
rent here?
Do you live in this house? And we were like, no. And they're like,
kinda.
We do now, I guess. But everyone had this weird expression about this house. And I don't know if it was because of the neighborhood, or maybe they were just like, this has been an abandoned vacant house for like so long.
House has been haunted.
Yeah, or somebody was murdered in this house. I don't know. But everybody just kept prompting us, like, do you own this house? Did you buy this house? Are you the new tenant in this property? Like, what's going on in this house? Because
we had to buy our own toilet paper, paper towels and stuff like that.
By the way, that is what I spent my vacation doing.
Yeah,
like going and buying all this stuff to just make the house livable.
So I obviously I thought when this all started, because you go to Airbnb's website and it's like, when you've got a problem, there's support and there are people who are going to help you. And you would think the moment you show them a clear and obvious scam, they are going to do what the first lady on the phone said. They're going to take care of you. They're going to find another place for you. They're going to refund you the money that you would have paid. Like, you would think they would do all of those things.
And that's weird, is that they wanted to investigate. Airbnb wanted to investigate, of course.
Because someone could make some weird stuff up.
And I totally understand protecting a host. If you have like a legitimate host and they use your platform and then maybe there's this issue, like whatever. But they investigated. They deactivated the person.
Oh, that's right.
They took down the listing, but still fought us on either sending us somewhere else or refunding us.
Yes. What? So they found out it was a total scam, and they were like, still, we'd like to keep a little bit of that money, to be fair. They'd like to hold on to it. Airbnb is like, hey, we're not the bad guys. At the end of the stay, once we get home, because again, a lot of this at some point we were like, let's just try to make a good vacation out of this, because I don't want to be fighting Airbnb every day and trying to move our entire family and all this stuff. At the end of it, we get back on with them. They also kind of go radio silent, which is weird. Like, show you, they're just like, it's like they don't respond for days and days and days. They stop responding. We get back home and I start calling them like, hey, I want to get this situation resolved. At this point, especially considering Airbnb stopped responding to me, I think, and I still think this, I think a full refund is way more than reasonable for what happened. I think they handled this so poorly, but we could at least talk about whatever the other discount was that they had in their mind. I call them multiple times. They will not get me on the phone with anybody that can help. Eventually, through text, they just tell me they're not going to do anything else for me.
Yeah, they close the case.
They close the case. Another case closed. They close the case. They're not going to do anything.
I also say we have been Airbnb for, you pulled it up.
I pulled it up yesterday. Almost 10 years.
I don't even know how many Airbnbs we have booked in, like, everywhere.
Yep.
Everywhere. Their first choice of vacation
was Airbnb.
Is Airbnb. Like, I go Airbnb over hotel always.
Yeah.
And I will not anymore.
So through all that, Airbnb case closed. And two things happened after case, because the whole time you're like, we should be talking about this on social media.
Yes.
And I'm saying two things. I want to give them the opportunity to fix this, and I also don't want to have our vacation be about this, because
Yeah.
when are we going to be in Hawaii again? You know, we maybe go to Hawaii, 12 times a year? We don't get to go back too often.
Just kind of helping us. I was like, we should be talking about this on social media, because I know the second it gets attention on social media, miraculously something will happen, which is weird. And I totally agree with you. Being a business owner, I would want our customers to come to us first. And I help every customer. Like, I want to help every customer. I would never do anything like this to one of our customers, especially a customer that has been shopping with us for 10 years or something like that. So I do get like trying to internally resolve it. But when I could tell like they're not going to do anything for us, I guarantee if someone heard this higher up at Airbnb, this would be a different story. So you decided
I posted something very basic on Twitter. And it's very unfortunate. Airbnb has decided not to help me. They've never really helped me in this situation. I've been a customer of theirs for a long time. I can't wait to talk about this at this point. This story is a doozy. That's what I posted online. At the same time, I called our credit card company and I disputed the entire charge. I was like, this is fraud at this point. I'm disputing this. I'm going to fight this every way I can. Later that day, I get a message from Airbnb after case closed, like you see multiple case closed. I'm like, reopen case. And they're like, case closed. Like everything, they finally reach out to me. Someone reaches out and says, hey, I saw your message online. I've looked into your situation. I want to take care of you. Can we talk on the phone? We talk on the phone very quickly. They call me. And again, I want to give Airbnb credit for these two situations, even though, here's what I want to say. The first person had every instinct right, and what they wanted to do, if it was done, it would have made total sense. The last person we talked to, all the way over here.
2 weeks of talking to them?
Yes, after talking to them for weeks, after getting shut down all across the board, the last person was like, this is crazy. We should have taken care of you immediately. I'm so sorry about this. This is something I hate. They really only were able to help me, or they only decided to help me because I happen to have a following on social media. It's cool. I'm glad that they made the right decision. I'm going to give them credit for that. And I don't think Airbnb is absolutely the worst thing ever, but I do think, well, what if I didn't have a following on social media?
Well, you already know the answer to that. You didn't tweet it, and if nobody saw it on social media, then the situation would have not been resolved. It would have just been exactly what you said, case closed, and they would have done nothing, which I think is not right. That is not right and not fair.
I want to believe that this was like a really unfortunate situation that fell into the cracks of people who made a lot of very bad decisions, because again, first person we talked to, last person we talked to, really helpful and really made me think like this is what Airbnb should be. I really am, because like I said online, they're about to be the unofficial sponsor of my next 30 videos I made, because I did not want to stop talking about this. For me, I appreciate that they fixed it, but I do think it's really unfortunate that you basically had to yell online to get someone to actually look at it.
And they didn't fix it in the moment.
Oh no, we were in the house the whole time. All we wanted, by the way, I never wanted my money back. I didn't care at all. We were even ready to pay more money to go somewhere else. I just wanted out of this awful scam house so I could have a good vacation with my family. It's just so unfortunate how it all played out. It's crazy to me, and I'm telling you, it really feels like they were doing their best to accommodate the scammer in this situation rather than us, which is just crazy.
So weird. Anyway, so
that was our vacation to Hawaii.
It sucked.
When I tell y'all, I will never take a girls trip with anybody who does not have funds. Let me tell you guys a quick story time. So I would like to preface this by saying the trip has not yet happened. However, this is a conversation I had to have with somebody today. So boom, we're in Nigeria for December. I thought it was going to be like Dirty December. It was not. We were in the villages. Okay. So it just wasn't as relaxing of a trip as I wanted. So I hit up a bunch of my homegirls. I'm like, let's go to Aspen. Let's do a girls trip. I'll fly out my homeboy who's a videographer who'll do our footage. Like, it'll be a good fucking time. Everyone was generally in consensus. Cool. So I told them, they hit up their friends. So now we got a good group chat going of like, hey, like, where do we want to stay? What do we want to do? And we all kind of came to the conclusion that like, this is kind of like a relaxing time. Like, there's no real plans. If you want to go ahead and snowmobile, snowboard, ski, everyone can just kind of do whatever they want to do. There's no pressure to do any sports. We are not Olympians. We are not training for the end of the fucking world doomsday, bitch. We are just here to relax and have a good time. Cool. One of the friends, the friend of my friend, texts me separately and says, hey girl, do you know the total expenses? Because her birthday's coming up. I want to make sure that I can afford both. Fucking understandable. I'm here with you, sister. We're here together. So I message her back and I'm like, the rental car shouldn't be more than 50 a person. Other than that, like we're deciding the Airbnbs in the group chat. You know what I'm saying? Let me find something within everyone's budget. I am extremely vocal in this group chat. Extremely. I'm sending Airbnbs. I'm sending verbos. I'm sending fucking everything. How do y'all like this one? How do y'all like this one? What about this? How's the rate looking? This is how much it would be per person after taxes. Yeah. Everyone is responsive, except her. I'm assuming you're not saying shit. You're sitting here in agreement. Because if you have an issue, raise your hand. My friend was like, I don't have enough money to be doing, X, Y, and Z. If y'all want to go skiing for $300, snowboarding for $300, another day this for $300, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not paying for that. Respectfully, me either, bitch. And I'm glad you said something because now we're all on the same page as to what it is that we're trying to do. So I finally send one. Yada yada yada. It's $500 a person. Is this cool with y'all before I book it? Everyone says yes. She doesn't say anything. Silence is agreement in my mind, because if you have a problem with it, before I book it, you should what? Say that. She said nothing. So, go ahead, book it. When you book it, it makes you put down the motherfucking funds, at least $1,500. Put it down, screenshot it, put it in the group chat. Hey, whenever y'all need to reimburse me, just let me know. I've already paid for it. I'm paying the other half on this date, which is when it's due. Let me know. This was booked on the 26th of January. On the 29th, she messages me and says, hey girl, I should honestly read the text verbatim, but she basically was just like, hey girl, like, I don't think that my finances will permit me to go, yada, 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 but also I don't want to inconvenience everyone else by putting my portion on them. And so I messaged her back and I said, ultimately, it's, if it will be an extra $105 per person if you don't go, but it's your decision. I don't know your finances. I don't know anything that you have going on in life. Like, I can't tell you what the fuck to do. I'm not going to tell you to neglect your bills or whatever responsibilities you have to be in this position to just come and fucking lounge around in Aspen. Like, respectfully, no. So she's like, okay, I'll let you know tomorrow. Doesn't message me the next day. So I hit her up the following day and was like, hey girl, like, what did you decide? Hey, turns out I'm not gonna go. I can't really afford it. Yada, 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 yada. Okay. And so I says, okay, because at this point, I'm gonna message the group chat. Everyone try to find somebody else to cover this other girl's portion, unless y'all want to pay more money. So we search and we scour the motherfucking earth. We can't find nobody. So today, right, I hit sister up. I'm like, hey, do you mind paying half of your portion? I didn't even say the full portion. I said, do you mind paying half the portion, which is $262 due to the, the last minute cancellation? You did it, yada, yada, yada. I understand that you can't come, but like, at this point, like, the other girls just kind of don't feel comfortable paying that extra amount because it's just something that they didn't allot for. And it's cutting into their expenses, and everyone was on the same page in agreement prior to this being booked. She says no. She says, how much is half? Girl, $262. You scroll up, you see it's $262. She's like, well, no, because I didn't realize that there was a cancellation and you were trying to find somebody else and yada, yada, yada. Every Airbnb, every Verbo, you put money down, and if you cancel it, you get a portion of it back. That $1,500 I put up front was non-refundable. That was going to get taken. So even if you did say, you know what, we're going to cancel this and get a different Airbnb, that $1,500 would have been ate up regardless. So no, that doesn't make sense. And I'm asking you to pay $260 when in reality you owe us $540. I'm not understanding. And she's like, why cancel before? You didn't cancel before. You canceled after the fact. And we sat in that group chat and we asked you time and time again, do you want to go? Is this okay? Does anybody have anything to say about the rates? And nobody said anything. You didn't say no, which means that you're in agreement, yes, of those fucking rates. So now, regardless if you can't go on the trip or whatever the fuck else it is, you are still responsible of your portion, regardless if you're going or not. There's more to the story, but basically the girl was just like, well, I don't got it. Which in my mind, if you don't have $262, you should have never been even thinking about going on that trip to begin with, because you quite literally can't fucking afford it. If you can't afford $262, if you can't afford that, you were never going to be able to afford the trip, and you fucking knew it. Am I the asshole? Like, am I the fucking asshole for even asking her for money? I don't think I am. Let me clarify this, because I'm just going to use this comment. So, rewind. She wasn't silent in the group chat. She was silent when I said, does anybody object to this Airbnb? and nobody objected. That's why I'm saying silence. Prior to even booking the Airbnb, that's when she reached out and said, hey, can you let me know the totals? I am going on this trip with you guys. I do want to go. I just want to know the totals of everything to make sure my finances are right for the trip. She confirmed she was going, which is why she was in the group chat to begin with. She wanted to know the total so she could know how much money she needs to allot. I said, okay, let me figure out the Airbnb situation. That's when we started posting in there about the Airbnbs, yada, 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 yada. I said, does anybody have any objections? Silence. If you didn't go, couldn't go, if it was too expensive, you could have said that in the group chat like the other girls did with the other houses that they either couldn't afford, didn't like, whatever. I never heard not one single objection about where we were staying, the price, nothing. And I asked multiple times. I said, okay, booked. 4 days later, then, hey girl, she still didn't say she wasn't going. She said, hey, I'm thinking about going, but I just want to make sure I have my finances right, yada, yada, yada. I don't know, I'm on the fence. I kind of want to go, but then also at the same time, if I don't go, I don't want to change the rate of the other girls' rooms. In my mind, if you say, hey, I don't know if I'm going to go, but I also don't want to change the rate. In my mind, that means you don't want to go, but you're probably going to pay because you don't want to change the rate for everyone else. I said, hey, the decision is yours, but it would be an extra $105 per person if you chose not to go. So yes, it would change the rate. So, either you want to pay for it or you don't want to pay for it. But if you don't want it to change the rate, you would just naturally pay for it, right? Because 2 + 2 is 4, it's not 10. There's no way for you to not go on a trip yet still not affect the rate of somebody else's room without you paying for it. So yeah, that was basically the confusion. So in the comments of what it seems, and for all y'all saying y'all should have just reached out to her separate, she's a grown woman. She already reached out to me twice in regards to her financial situation, right? First time saying, hey, I want to go, but I just need to know how much everything is. Okay, cool. So I'll let you know. I texted you in the group chat every fucking day. You guys had exactly how much things were. I asked if anybody objected. Say something. You didn't say anything, which means you don't object. So, I don't even know what else to say. If you could not afford it, you could have been like, actually, I'm just not going to go on this trip. Hey, this isn't a mandatory trip. I've decided I'm not going to go. And that would have been fine. Other girls dropped out. No problem. I'm not going to go the extra mile. Hey, girl, you didn't say you didn't object to any of the prices, but I just wanted to make sure we're adults. We're all past 25 years of age. Some of us are in our fucking 30s. It doesn't make sense, and I'm not doing that. I'm just going to use this comment here to wrap everything up because I feel like some of y'all are missing the plot. And not specifically this comment, but kind of sort of about like me taking an L or like, oh, people just don't have money. The money was never an issue. I paid in full for that Airbnb up front, mind you. Everybody reimburse me when you can. Someone's like, post the screenshots. The goal is not to embarrass this girl or to whatever or to shame her. That wasn't the fucking issue. The question I was asking was, am I the asshole for asking for her to pay not even her whole portion, which was 5 something, to pay half of her portion because she backed out last minute when she already confirmed with us she was going on the trip? The only question that she had was, how much will it be in total with everything so I can get my finances together so I can know what to bring, so I can make sure I can afford this trip and the other trip. That was the question. Y'all are commenting, talking about y'all just need to eat that 105. Maybe that 105 was already eaten by me. Understand that. The other questions are about the videographer, the photographer. Yes, I am paying for that man. He's buying his own flight. He gets there. I'm paying for his portion of the Airbnb. I am paying for his excursions. I am paying for his food, his lodging, his alcohol. I am taking care of his trip off me. Money wasn't the issue. The issue was the principle that she confirmed that she was going to go. She then did not object to the price or the Airbnb or the rates. She saw it confirmed, and then days later message saying she was not going to go. But not only was she not going to go, I don't want to raise the rate for everyone else, so if I don't go, that means you're going to still pay for something. And then to be like, well, why would you even ask me for that? Because you said you didn't want the rate to change for anyone. Like, what are you talking about? As far as everyone needing to just eat the 105, everybody just needs to eat it. I'm not asking any of my friends for money. That wasn't the goal. It's not that my friends don't have the money. I I think it's bad form if I'm paying for an Airbnb and somebody else backs out. Hey guys, everyone, like, give me $100. Bitches aren't pressing stress like that for a fucking $100. I'm gonna eat it. I will be paying $1,500 for this Airbnb on my own. Yes, I will, because that's just how I am. That wasn't the issue. The question was, am I the asshole? Follow the fuck along, please. Wait, I know I said that was the last video, but this is actually the last one, because this is the last like comment that I've seen, which is, if she backed out, why are you even asking? Other than the fact that it's the principal, the main reason why I asked is because out of her mouth, right, the day that she was like, oh, 4 days later, when she said, I don't know if I want to go, but I do not want myself backing out to affect the rate of the other girls. She said, I don't want me backing out to affect the rate of the other girls. That in my mind means, right, that you're going to put something down to where it doesn't affect the rate of the other girls. I let her know your portion is 5 something. If we split that up, it's about an extra $100, $105 per person that it would change. I'm letting her know how much it would change the rate by, because she offered, right? So her then saying, why are you asking me? You guys saying, why are you even asking her? I'm asking her because she already previously said, even if I do back out, I don't want me backing out to change the rate of the other girls, insinuating she's giving something. Are we all, like, I feel like this is like, if y'all still don't get that, I don't know what else to say. It wasn't about, oh, we don't have an extra $100. That's not why we asked. That's not why I asked. I asked because she had previously said, which I stated in the other videos, every single one, right? If I back out of this trip, I don't want me backing out to change the rates of the other girls' room and board. I don't think that people are piecing that together with why I asked her. Hopefully it now makes sense. Other than the fact that it was the principal, she already previously, like, practically offered, which is why I even asked. I asked, am I the asshole? Because when I asked her, hey girl, do you mind putting that down? She got almost like offended, like, what do you mean? Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Because you already offered. Are you guys following?
If I send a group text asking if everyone is cool with $500 per person and one person doesn't respond, I am not automatically going to count you in, boo-boo. You have to respond. I'm going to hit you up again and again. And if you don't respond, that means you ain't coming. Because the girl who planned the trip to Aspen and the girl didn't respond whenever she asked if everyone was cool with $500 and she automatically counted her in, I'm like, girl, I don't know. Silence does not mean agreement. Silence means, I don't think so. At least to me. I would have hit her up on the side saying like, hey, I didn't get your response. Like, are you coming or not? And I feel like in that moment, she probably would have said no.
Okay, so I have a scary story about solo female traveling. Last time I was in Hawaii to visit my brother, I decided that I was going to go to Kauai, a neighboring island, and stay there by myself for 2 weeks. I didn't know anyone and I had no way to get around, so I rented this little moped, which is a horrible idea for Hawaii, by the way. Everyone told me that. Within a few days, I had made friends with this guy at the skate shop that told me I really needed to go see this one beautiful. So I got on my little moped and I was taking a back road so I could see the mountains and the water and everything. And I come up on this turn and before I could even see anything, I hit this huge pit of gravel. My motorcycle spins out into a ditch and I'm on the side of the road. I pass out, but these people had stopped and had called the police. Okay, so this is where it gets bad. I'm not gonna have time to tell this. Anyways, when the EMTs arrive, they're cleaning off my wounds because I had all these surface abrasions up and down my arms and my head and my hips with my own drinking water, literally a Gatorade bottle filled with water that I had been using that day. That was my first red flag because I was like, why are you using my water? You have a whole ambulance right there. So I'm sobbing and shaking uncontrollably because I'm in so much pain. And the EMTs are like, you're gonna need to go get some antibacterial and band-aids so that all these open wounds don't get infected. And I'm like, okay, do you guys have any of that stuff in your big huge ambulance right there that you could give me? And the EMTs are like, oh yeah, let me go get you some band-aids. I'm like, yeah, thank you. I'm sobbing and shaking uncontrollably. I'm in so much pain and could you spare a band-aid? Then the next thing that I thought was so weird was this cop, and she comes up to me and is like, hey, like, your bike is completely wrecked, and they locked it up like on this fence nearby with like some lock. And she was like, you're not gonna be able to drive your bike home, so do you know anyone on this island that can come get you? And I was like, no, I don't know anyone here. Like, what do I do? And she's like, oh, okay, I'll take you back to Kapa'a, because we were near Lahui, which is like 15 minutes apart. And I was like, thank you. I like need to call my mom. I need to call the like motorcycle rental place. And she's like, yeah, call them, like, get in the car, we'll go. So like 3 minutes later, I'm in the back of the cop car and she's sitting in the front seat, and she's like, so where do you live again? And I'm like, oh, Kapa'a, like I said, and I told her blah blah blah. I was staying at this hostel in Kapa'a. And she was like, oh, right, I can't take you there. I'm like, okay, what? I was like, wait, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? I don't know anyone here. I was like, wait, why? I thought you said you could. And she was like, it's out of my jurisdiction. I was like, ma'am, I was just in a motor accident. Like, you couldn't drive me 15 minutes? Protect and serve? And at this point, like, I was crying before, but now I am like, ugly sobbing. And she goes, I'm gonna drop you off at this Walmart at the corner of the road, and you can take a bus to Kapa'a. So mind you, I am in a tank top that is covered in blood, shorts that are covered in blood. I have leaves still in my hair. My whole arm is like crusted in blood because the EMTs wouldn't clean them. They just patted it with water. And this cop drops me off crying and covered in blood at a Walmart. Now, third horrible thing that happens, my phone dies. And in Hawaii, electricity is like 400% more expensive than it is on the mainland. So there are no public outlets anywhere. Like at a Walmart, you can usually find an outlet outside. No, there's no outlet. I can't find any outlets anywhere in this strip mall. So I go into this Walmart and I find this one outlet inside, and I plug my phone in all sneaky, and I'm like standing there, and this lady comes up and she's like, ma'am, you can't plug your phone in there. Mind you, I am covered in blood and I have leaves in my hair and I look crazy. And I was like, I'm crying. I'm like, ma'am, please, like, please just let me plug my phone in here. I need to call an Uber. Like, please. And she's like, I am so sorry. I do not care. And I was like, no, right. I forgot. Yeah, no one does. No one here on this island cares about my life. I forgot. I'm crying outside this Walmart, sitting on the side of the bench, and this man comes up to me and is like, girl, are you okay? Well, he was like, ma'am, are you okay? Because I looked crazy. And I was like, no, sir, I'm not okay. I need to charge my phone. I need to get home. And he was like, okay, you can charge your phone like in my car or like whatever. And normally I would never do that, like with a strange middle-aged man, but I was so desperate. Resetting the scene, it is like 10 p.m. at night. I got in this strange man's car and I am covered in blood. This man is like, I can take you home to Kapa'a. It's not that far. It's like 10 minutes. I'm in the seat just like crying my eyes out. Like the whole day had been way too much. I don't know how I got here. I don't know if I'm making it home. I just kept saying like, I just want to go home to Texas. I'm scared. Like I don't want to be here anymore. So this man speed dials Alaska Airlines. Now I don't even know how you get in contact with just the head of Alaska Airlines, but this man must have been someone, because he was like, hi, I need to get my niece on the first flight home to Texas from Kauai. And the other person on the line was like, yes, sir. And he's looking at me. He's like, do you really want to do this? Do you really want to go home? Like, I'll get your ticket. I was like, wait, I didn't really mean it. I don't really want to go home. So awesome king shit, awesome aloha shit. He just drops me off at my hostel safe and sound. But remember how I told y'all the band-aids were going to be crucial. So I wake up the next morning and all those open wounds on this side of my body, infected. Black, green, pussing. I can't even walk because every movement is like ripping open the wounds again. So the hostel I'm staying at is like 8 beds in one room. And I slept next to this girl that used to work in first aid. She's like, you have to clean that. Like, they're going to get infected. And she was trying to help me pick the rocks out from under my skin because they were like under my skin. Like all the gravel was all still up in my wounds. But it was so painful. I had no pain meds. I tried to take a shower and scrub off the rocks, but I was in so much pain. I hadn't eaten that day. I had not eaten in a full day because I had no groceries and it was like my second day there. So I was like, Eden, you cannot pass out in the shower because nobody knows that you're in here. I FaceTime my mom and she's like, you have to go to the hospital. So I had to drive a new moped to the hospital. And when the nurse heard my story, she was like, please don't tell me that is your moped. Yup. In the aftermath, of all of this. I basically couldn't move for like 5 days because I was trying to keep my skin from breaking open. But I made really good friends with these two guys that were also staying at the hostel. One of the guys was Larry. He's like 60 years old. He's from Australia and he walks everywhere barefoot. He also owns a business where he makes portable showers. And the second guy was Jeff, and he is a software developer from Seattle. So Jeff had a car and he would like take us around, and we literally became like three musketeers. After like a week, they took me on a hike and I still had this big like wound right here. And from all the climbing, just like going up and down, it like split open, and the film that I had it covered it was filling up with pus. So I had to undress it at the top of a mountain and wash it off with waterfall water, which I don't recommend because that's not sanitary. But it ended up all healing, and these tattoos cover most of my scar. And this one too, you can see my scar.
I see why people fall out when they go to Miami. So about 3 years ago, I caught myself going on a last minute girls trip to Miami with like 4 other girls. So we already took a road trip down there. Keep in mind, y'all, like we drove my cars, so we stopping, getting gas and all of this. And I'm stopping. I noticed the first 2 stops, I'm the only person getting out the car to put some money in his goddamn tank, bitch. That was the first red flag. So when it was time to go to the 3rd stop, I'm like, are y'all putting any money in? And then keep in mind, I'm the only person freaking driving, y'all. So on top of me driving from Atlanta to Miami, which is a 9-hour road trip, I'm stopping, I'm putting gas in here, and y'all are looking crazy when it's time to stop to put gas in my car. So yeah, I turned around, I asked them, I'm like, are y'all putting gas in here? Now one of the girls did help me out. She only put 10 in my tank. And I'm just like, but I really wanted to go have a good time, so I didn't get to cuss nobody out just yet. So we finally make it to Miami, y'all. It's beautiful in the yams, okay? And we check inside our hotel, and I had to put down the deposit. When it was time to put down the deposit, everybody around here looking like this, crickets. So I put down the deposit, we go in the room, and we get ready. So we end up going to the beach, y'all. It was a little vibe or whatever at first, and we end up walking down the strip, and we had seen I forgot what kind of food it is. I think they served like seafood and different things like that, and they were all like, oh yes, let's go. So we end up walking in the seafood restaurant. So they had like hookah, drinks, all of that, right? So we had ordered a hookah, we had a pineapple drink and a bowl, y'all. It was so damn good. And we just turned up having a good time, ordering food and vibing. So we sitting up here thinking about what's the move, what we're gonna do that night and tomorrow. So we had made plans for the next day to go on jet skis, and I'm suggesting it. Everybody's like, yeah, that's a good idea. I definitely think we should do that. What time y'all want to do it? So I'm thinking we about to have a good ass time. So after we get done eating, the bill ends up coming, and the bill comes up to like $350. So that's when shit got crazy. So one of the girls was like, oh hell no, I only got $20. What you mean you only got bitch, why would you take your ass to Miami with $20? Let's be so for real. So the other girl is looking at her, and she was like, yeah girl, I'm not gonna lie, my boss didn't even pay me yet. Like, I don't know what he got going on. I'm looking like, oh hell no. So it was excuse after excuse after excuse as to why they ain't had the money to pay for the damn bill. So one of the girls end up getting up, and she's like, let's just get the fuck up out of here. And she gets up and she leaves. The other ones leave behind her, and I'm looking around like, oh my god, we about to dine and dash in this bitch. I never did nothing like that, y'all, but I got up because I'm not finna be stuck paying the bill. So after that, we head back to the hotel, and that's when I decide to get a whole different room and leave they ass, because y'all got me fucked up. I did everything else by myself on that trip, and I don't even know what the hell they did, because why would y'all even come down here with no money? I'm not finna be stuck with y'all doing shit, paying for shit. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. So be mindful who y'all go on the trip with, because they definitely got my ass. And yeah.
So y'all, let me tell y'all how my 25th birthday trip basically turned into me allowing someone else to have a free trip off of my dime, even though it was my birthday. So every year I just tell myself that I want to take a trip for my birthday, and then the year before last it was my 25th birthday, so I'm like, yeah, definitely have to take a really nice trip. So originally me and my best friend was supposed to go because our birthdays are like exactly 1 month apart. She was born October 7th, I was born November 7th. So we're like, yes, we're gonna turn up, but she turned around and got pregnant, so she couldn't even do the trip no more. So me, I'm like, well, I already want to go. We didn't even know where we were going at the time, so I just asked around, asked my cousins, my family, my friends, you know, who wants to come on the 25th birthday trip for me, you know? Yeah, but of course none of my friends could come or wanted to come. I don't know. I know everybody got their own lives going on, so I don't really be too mad when people can't come to my birthday trips, because most of the time it's usually only me and one other girl anyway. But it's like the way that the trip turned out and the way that I ended up having to pay for the entire thing, I could have brought whoever the hell I wanted to bring. Like, the girl that I went with because she was the only one who was like, yeah, I can go. I can financially go. So for the longest, we were trying to figure out where were we even going to go. We just knew that we wanted to take a trip. So we ended up deciding on Costa Rica, because really Costa Rica was the cheapest. So my birthday is November 7th, and we ended up taking the trip like the last week of October. But y'all, why the first week of October, the girl that I went with, she texted me and was like, can we push the trip back 2 weeks? And I'm like, girl, it's a week before the trip. What the hell do you mean, can we push it back 2 weeks, you know? And then she starts going on about her bills are due that week, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, we had been planning this trip like months in advance. And you been knew that your bills were due the same week that we were taking the trip. Like, shit, my bills were due too. But I feel like when you know you about to take a trip, you need to plan accordingly financially. So I was like, no, I'm not canceling it. You know, like, I already took off work. I already have stuff booked. You want us to lose money by canceling stuff and rescheduling it. Like, that, it didn't make no sense to me. And so, like, of course she was mad. We got into it, of course. But like, my whole thing is, she was one of them girls who be on Instagram popping they shit like they got so much of fucking money, you know? And like, I'm not even gonna say who it was, because I'm not even gonna do that. But like, you act like you got all this money, but you couldn't have a couple $100s for a trip. Like, y'all, this trip was cheap. So after we got into it, I didn't even know if like she still was gonna go, but I still was gonna go. Like, it's still my 25th birthday. I'm gonna go. I was gonna go to Costa Rica all by myself. So y'all, so I told y'all she wanted to reschedule. So instead of rescheduling, she was like, oh, well, we need to find cheaper rooms, because the hotel we was at was too much for her. So we ended up finding a cheaper room, and like the total room for like 4 to 5 days in Costa Rica, it was like $400, y'all. So the room that we were going to stay at before, it was like a resort, and like the whole total was maybe like $1,500. But mind you, we were splitting it. So she ended up finding this hotel that was $400, and I'm like, okay, we gonna split it, so whatever. So, and then also me, I like to have excursions and stuff booked prior to getting there. So I had excursions and stuff booked, and I was telling her, you know, like the cost, how much it is, you know, how much you need to send me. But I'm not the type to wait on somebody. Like, I'm gonna just go ahead and book it, and then, you know, you send me your funds whenever you get time to send it. Y'all, and this girl was like 4 or 5 years older than me. So I'm like, how you letting my young ass basically give you a free trip for my birthday, and you couldn't even offer to buy me a fucking drink? Like, even when we went out to the club and was out to eat, she didn't even offer like, girl, let me buy your meal or something, like, since it's your birthday and you done bought this whole damn trip. So I was already mad that she made me downgrade the hotel room. Like, she made me pick just some random ass hotel room that was only $400. But mind you, like, Costa Rica is cheap, so the hotel still wasn't a bad hotel. It just wasn't like luxury, you know, the way that I was going for. And so, like I said, we had got into it. So it's like, I understand you have bills and everything. Everybody has bills, but my whole thing is, why wait the week before to try to say that you can't do it, or you need to push it back, and then you want to push it back to basically the week that you get paid. So that makes me feel like, girl, you living paycheck to paycheck when you rocking designer and doing all this other type of shit. Like, how are you living paycheck to paycheck when you on Instagram like you a fucking millionaire, you know? So the day of the trip, I hadn't heard from her, because like I said, we had got into it, and I hadn't heard from her, and she had never sent me like her half of the room or her half of the excursions. So I'm thinking like, yeah, this girl really she must not be coming, you know, she must just gonna lose out on her flight, because really the flights were the most expensive things. They were probably like $500, maybe $500. So, and our flights were always at different times, because I was flying out of Baton Rouge and she was flying out of Houston. So my flight was early and her flight was later that evening. So I flew to Costa Rica in my mind thinking like, you might be here for like 4 days by yourself. And I was just, you know, getting mentally prepared to do this on my own. And I was just gonna make the best of it. But later that night, she ended up texting me and saying, hey, I'm on the way to the airport, blah, blah, blah. And so like, we hadn't talked. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'm not finna be a bitch. I'm finna enjoy this trip. Like, we're in a whole different country. We in Costa Rica. I'm not finna, you know, do all that. So she texts me, but in my mind, I'm still thinking like, this girl hasn't given me her half of the room. She hasn't given me her half of the excursions. So I was thinking, you know, like, where is she sleeping? Where is she staying at? Because she hasn't paid for nothing. And also, y'all, I got a rental car. I had told her all about that too. And y'all, like, the stuff was super cheap. So it wasn't even like I'm asking for a lot. Like, she probably owed me like $500 to $700 from her half of the room, her half of the rental car, and her half of all of the excursions that we did. So she shows up to Costa Rica, and I have a rental car, so she's expecting me to come pick her up. I feel like I could have been a bitch and be like, bitch, Uber, you know, because you ain't give me no money on this rental car. But I was like, no. I got up out of the bed late at night and I went and picked her up in Costa Rica, and that's it. Like, I didn't ask her for the money for the room. I didn't ask her for the money for the excursions, because first of all, she was like 4 to 5 years older than me. And I'm just thinking, you know, a grown woman wouldn't come on this trip and not expect to give her half of the trip, you know? I'm thinking like, girl, you got on that plane because you was like, okay, I'm gonna give you the money for the trip. But y'all, that girl did not give me shit. That girl did not give me shit. But I was trying to keep my composure throughout the whole trip because I wanted to enjoy the trip. So I didn't ask her for any money. But I'm just thinking, you know, like, and at the end of the day, like, she was my family. So I was like, she gonna offer it to me. She gonna do something. It's like, that girl didn't do nothing. I really want to say she probably didn't even spend nothing on the whole fucking trip, because with gas in the car, she never offered to pay. On the excursions, you know, the food be included, so it's not like she had to pay for any of the food. She didn't pay for the excursions. And then on the excursions, she was low-key complaining. So I'm just like, girl, you are literally on a free fucking trip. A free trip on my dime for my birthday, and you sitting up on this excursion complaining because your Instagram don't have no service up in the mountains. That's your fucking problem. Like, you so caught up in Instagram, being fake on Instagram, you out of touch with real life. In real life, you couldn't give me any of the money for my trip. But y'all, moral of my story is, I done already told my friends, I'm not planning no more trips. Like, if y'all want to go on a trip with me, you book and I'll send you the money, because I learned my lesson. I will never book anything without getting that person's money first, because that girl who was my family literally showed up on my birthday trip, didn't give me a dime for it, and was complaining about it. She made me downgrade my hotel room because she was acting like, oh, if you downgrade, I'll be able to afford it. You made me downgrade and you couldn't even give me the measly $200 for the room. So it's like, girl, I could have still had my nice room. Then she didn't tell me that she ended up switching her flight, so she ended up leaving a day before me. So y'all know excursions be like 8-hour excursions. So we was up in the mountains all day. So we come back down and she has a flight to catch for 11 p.m. and I'm like tired as hell. I took my shower, I'm in the bed. I'm thinking, you know, like, this girl is at least gonna catch an Uber to airport. She's not about to make me get up out of the bed and bring her to the airport for her to catch her flight, even though she didn't even tell me she was leaving a day earlier. No, of course, she's sitting up looking at me like, okay, well, I'm ready to go. I'm like, girl, like, y'all don't understand how hard it was for me to not go off on her. But I literally was like, I'm not gonna go off. This is just a lesson learned, never again. And then it's just like so crazy how she was older than me and how she be on Instagram like she got all this money in the world, but it's like you couldn't even give your little younger family member money for her birthday trip. Like, if I would have known that trip would have been completely on my dime, I would have invited anybody. I would have invited a friend that I actually would have had a good time with, you know, if I was gonna be paying for the whole thing, because I paid for the whole thing. But that was not my intention. I didn't mean to do that. I really thought that the girl was gonna give me her half of the money whenever she got there. I didn't want to be like, yeah, girl, so where my money at, you know? I was like, okay, we grown adults, if you know that you haven't paid your half for the trip, why do I have to beg you for it? But yeah, never again, you know. Like I said, if somebody want to go on a trip with me, y'all do the planning and I'll send my coins, because I'm never going through that stress again. And then y'all, it's crazy because she turned right around. I guess I didn't learn my lesson, but we was going to go do a spring break trip. And I guess I didn't learn my lesson. So she turned right around and did the whole shit again for spring break. And we really ended up falling out over $60, y'all, because she didn't want to send me her $60 for the Airbnb for spring break. And it's like, all I'm going to say is them girls on social media who act like they got it, who wear designer from head to toe, they ain't really got it like that, y'all. They ain't really got it. They live in paycheck to motherfucking paycheck.
So you mean to tell me we've been having a cabin trip planned for the past 2 months just for today to be the trip for the person whose plans it were to go ghost on us? Okay, so we're gonna call this girl Keisha. So Keisha told us already the days that we needed to put in, and then she also told us that we didn't have to chip in on anything because she was covering all expenses, from paying for the whole entire cabin and then also paying for the Sprinter bus for us to all get there and get back home. Only thing that we had to buy was our costume, bring a bottle, bring your swimsuits, and your luggage. That was it. We like, cool, that's a good little free weekend trip. We're gonna have a good time. She was positive that she didn't need us to bring anything other than what she asked us to. Keep that in mind. Okay, number one, y'all, we never seen the Airbnb or the cabin. She never showed us what it looked like. We just assumed that these was the plans that was about to happen because of the type of person she is. When she says she gonna do something, she do it. So as the weeks go on, we all talking about the trip. Everything's good. Everybody's getting their things together, everything. So this is the week that the trip is happening. No signs were given that we're not gonna go, or that she's gonna ghost us. So the day before the trip, we confirmed the time that we had to be at, we're gonna call her TT house. So everybody was getting all their stuff together and going to bed early, because of course we had to get up early because we got a 6-hour drive. So the day of the cabin trip, the morning of, which is today, I get up at like 6:50, go pick my friend up and go make some extra errands or whatever. Get to TT house at a good time. Y'all, we have not heard from Keisha. We've been calling Keisha. We was texting Keisha. Keisha has not said anything. Keisha was supposed to get the Sprinter bus at 7 a.m. At this time of day, it's 9 a.m. Okay? Nothing.
I got robbed yesterday in Hawaii, my first day on the trip. This is Ash. Hi. And I'm here visiting her, and we decided to go to the beach. We're swimming in the ocean, having a grand old time. We get out of the water, and then all of a sudden, I see her bag, but I don't see mine. So I'm looking around, like trying to see if anyone around us has like seen the bag, and I'm like, oh my God, like my debit card's in there, my license, literally everything was in there. So all of a sudden I see like a group of cops, and so I go up to them, and this was a long shot, like I wasn't even gonna go up to them, but I was like, let's just try. And so I go up to them and I was like, did anyone report a bag by chance? And they were like, yes, actually, like what did it look like? And I told them, and they were like, oh, this girl is coming to bring it to you now. So this little like 12-year-old girl, she's like sprinting across the beach like Baywatch action with my bag in hand, and I'm like, oh my God, thank you, baby Jesus. She gives me my bag, and I was like, oh my God, like what happened? She saw like a group of teenage middle school boys walk across the beach with nothing in their hand, and said they saw grab my bag, and then they left. Her and her family thought it was sketchy, so they reported them to the police. It honestly is a miracle that I even got my bag back. They asked if I wanted to press charges. I said no. All they really took was my tripod, which is fine. I got it like for $30 on Amazon, so not a big deal. But it's still annoying that like you stole my tripod. I'm not mad. I'm just really grateful I have my bag and like all my stuff, because I thought I was gonna be stranded here. So #blessed. But yeah, that's pretty much the story.
So I was gonna say this. I'm gonna just come in and give my 2 cents and say this. Like in most of these videos I'm seeing a lot, especially for the girls trip, I see that a lot of y'all are not communicating correctly. Like that's the problem. You guys are just going by assuming. You assume that, oh, this is taken care of, this is done, oh, I'm assuming she's gonna come in. Like the communication is where you guys go wrong. You can't just assume things, and at the end of the day you can't just, not communicate. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I'm gonna say. Communication. Work on your communication when you go into these vacations, and y'all will be good. Y'all don't have to fight over these amounts of money. Y'all don't have to split up and force this other person to, oh my gosh, now she not coming, so she gotta up and give us this money. Now you know what I'm saying? It's a lot. So when y'all planning these group trips, communications is first things, and always have an emergency fund as well. Do not always depend 1,000% on a fully catered trip. That's where y'all go wrong. You can't go to a fully catered trip if you can't even afford it yourself. If you feel like, oh, I don't even have the money, enough money to cater for this, like, and people are offering, make sure you have enough money like that could cover that, just in case, because you just never know. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this series, and I'll be dropping more for you guys. So make sure you have your notification bell on, so that every time I drop, you have literally fast dibs. And I'm gonna say this: thank you so much for everyone who's been supporting my channel. We're on the road to 20K. We're almost there. Make sure you join the wave by hitting that subscribe button. It's literally free to support me. Click that subscribe, like it, share it up, and I will be seeing y'all in the next one. Bye.
Hey Zuma, you taking off?